Hi friends, it's Eric here. I'm here with Nick and Audra, and we're talking about my nightly musings. This is nightly musings number 3. It's more than the third nightly musings, but since I started titling with the nightly musings title, and the purpose of this one, number 3, is to discuss the realities of analyzing something as squishy as consciousness, personal growth, what it means to do descriptive and prescriptive typology stuff. And we're going to start with the Forer effect, which Nick brought up, which basically says if you describe somebody in bland terms, you can describe a bunch of contradictory things, and people will go, "Oh yeah, that's totally me." Sometimes you like to have fun, and sometimes you're serious. That's totally me. Oh my god. Well, it's totally everybody, right? Sometimes you're fun, and sometimes you're serious. Whoop-de-doo. So that's one of the challenges when you're dealing with stuff that's soft like this, is that it's easy enough to use confirmation bias to determine that something is right on the money when really it's kind of not really saying anything. Now, another example of this kind of confirmation bias um, reasoning flaw is is that people will also. I mean, people have what they want, right? So when I ask a question, how I phrase the question is going to be hugely important into how they answer it. So, for example, the feelings question, I think I got a pretty good balance in that one when I say, which sentence are you more likely to identify with? I'm not fussy. Those people are the fussy ones. I'm worried about how they're going to react. I'll be fine either way. Or those people can worry about their own emotions. I'm concerned about how I feel about this. That's what's important. And that is that they sound kind of equal, right? I think it's important that they sound equal because people have a desire to choose the one that sounds better. People want to describe themselves as good things. They want to believe themselves to be good things. They want others to believe them to be good descriptors, not like, okay, so I've got my assessment of you, Audra. You're lazy, you're stupid, and cruel. Congratulations. Nobody wants to hear that, right? So obviously people pick stuff that's more positive. Um, I think that the defense that the cognitive function model has over against the Fourier effect is that it's comprised of dichotomies that are exclusive of one another. Exclusivity prevents the Fourier effect. If you tell somebody sometimes you're fun, sometimes you're serious, that's not making any kind of a statement that's meaningful. You have to say something along the lines of you're more likely to be positive and optimistic as a default, or you are positive and optimistic as a default, and when things get fussy for you, it's typically short lived. Now, that's a much more meaningful statement because you're drawing a contrast between somebody who, for example, becomes very emotionally engaged in things and holds grudges and stuff like that. So, the dichotomy is clear. You say, are you, by and large, more likely to be making the mess most of the time and cleaning up less of the time, or vice versa? That's a good question. There's no for affecting allowed. So I think cognitive functions is not exactly uh, susceptible to Fourier effect when applied properly. But one other type of thing that happens with the horoscope with me. So JC looked at my star chart or horoscope chart or whatever, and she pointed me to the parts that she thought were significant. And of course, when I all the parts that she pointed me to, which were the parts that I read, I was just like, oh my god, this thing's really fucking right on the money. But there were all these other parts that we didn't read because, well, that is probably not relevant for you. Well, basically, they describe everybody, and you pick the parts that you want that are for you. You know, it's like if I had been a different person, I would have said, "Oh, well, actually, what's really important for me is where the moon was ascending or something." And then I read that part, and it's oh my god, it's right on the money. Well, that kind of confirmation bias as well can occur. But the real question then becomes, what is the impact of all that? Does that matter in terms of actual self growth or meaningful engagement with your own identity and consciousness? So, Audra, since you were disappeared there for a second, if you're back, oh, you went black and white again. But or Nick, since I was having technical difficulties, what do you think about that so far, as in terms of the capacity to deceive oneself about one's own consciousness by these various
I
fallacies?
agree 1,000% with everything you said. I'm mad because I sent you the wrong word.
Is it me the wrong word?
I never meant to talk about the Forer effect, but what you did with it was great.
Well, it is about
You
basically
nailed it.
cognitive function and typology. They say
It's for
it's a way
sure.
psychology professors go, see, typing's dumb, but that's because I'm
No,
making a straw man.
out of any of the things that I could have said on accident, and you start riffing on it, it was. I'm pleased with it that it was that.
Which effect do you, or what thing are you actually talking about?
I'm trying to find it. But it's frustrating me, like pretty, pretty thoroughly.
Is it the Dunning Kruger effect?
I think I'm getting close to it. It's just really frustrating.
Okay, well, let's talk about another one of these cognitive
Right.
biases, which is the Dunning Kruger effect. Wikipedia says it's a cognitive bias in which low ability individuals suffer from illusory superiority, mistakenly assessing their ability as much higher than it really is. Dunning Kruger attributed this bias to a metacognitive incapacity on the part of those with low ability to recognize their ineptitude and evaluate their competence accurately. Their research also suggests corollaries. High ability individuals may underestimate their relative competence and may erroneously assume that tasks which are easy for them are also easy for others. I am guilty of both of these.
That's what I was looking for.
I figured as much. The Dunning Kruger effect, I'm guilty of both of those things.
Good. That's fucking brilliant. I know why you figured that, but it's been such a long time since we've been talking about what we were originally talking about, which you affording a certain level of like honesty and transparency. Since you do that, you're
Well,
and it's like that thing where you literally couldn't understand that people couldn't understand what you were saying, and you used robust language and that fast, high tempo.
yeah. Well, I am, in fact, frequently guilty of the this other one where it says high ability individuals may underestimate their relative competence.
You'd say you can't hang if somebody's trying to bait you, and then they're trying to bait you, and they wouldn't be able to hang, and you wouldn't understand that they're not hanging.
Right, because that's just rhetoric. I'm not actually assessing them as being unable to hang. I'm just engaging in rhetorical attack. Um,
Either
well,
way,
I'm also guilty of the other one. I tend to think I can do shit that I've never tried before just fine. You know, I'll be like, oh, I could do that. That's easy. I could do that thing. And then you go and try to do it, and you're like, I can't do that at all. That's hard, actually. Never
like
mind.
what? Can you give me an example?
Um, Ice skating. It's the first one that comes to mind. I assumed I'd be able to do that, no problem. No, that was easy. It was really hard. I fell on my ass and I was like bruised for weeks. I haven't been ice skating since. Fuck that. I don't want to go skating anymore. So that's an example of one of those things. Computer stuff. Sometimes I'll be like, "Oh, I'm sure I could figure it out." Whatever the thing
I'm
is,
guilty of that to an incredible degree.
and then I get into it and I go like, "Fuck this, man. This is hard. I hate that." You know, it's like you realize you're not really that smart, actually. Sometimes you can buy your own bullshit because I'm like, yeah, I'm smart. I'm super smart. Look how smart I am.
It's
I
not
can figure this
imaginable.
out, but you can't really figure it out. It's like
It's
that's too much work. Too much
it's
TI.
pa-
Huh?
it's pa- it's patience. It's not a matter of intelligence. It's patience. And you mean I really gotta be taught this in a TE fucking? You mean I can't use any TI on this? I can't
Well,
just.
I mean, sometimes the TI is too heavy. I don't like having to read things more than once. If the thing is complicated and I got to read it more than once, I go,
Isn't that SI?
is there some way I can avoid actually understanding this and just sort of conceptually
Isn't
conceptually package
that,
it into a drop of some sort?
isn't that more SI though?
No, that's TI. Wait. Oh my god, look at that. We got 3 shirts on. Fuck yeah. We got Audra, Nick, Eric, all in the green and yellow. Different color schemes backwards and forwards, but fuck yeah. Now I want to go put on the green one so I can fit in. I'm going to go put on the green one.
Ooh, my feet.
So what is it when you think you can do something that you probably shouldn't be able to do, but you actually do it?
You okay? So say it again.
So what's when neither of those fails and you actually like correctly assess your thing, even though logic says you probably have overreached?
Badass.
Yeah, I can't. I don't have a clean one. It's in a dirty clothes. If I could. Too hard then. Okay, well, so anyway, yeah, we're musing about Dunning-Kruger and the Forer effect, and I think it sort of ties in with self-assessment in general. So, one thing that is true and difficult and kind of unfair a little bit or something is that the more you feel like you're attaining actual success, the more comfortable you tend to be with your failings. So I feel pretty. I feel like I've got enough spiritual capital to carry to pay for the work, to pay for the openness about my weaknesses and failings and insecurities and stuff. It's like I got enough coverage for the amount of identity bruising that is necessary to be hopefully, fully objectively self-critical. Because to me, that's the engine behind all good in the universe is objective self-criticism. So, but it's hard because if you're really going to be objective self-critical about everything, then presumably you'd have shit optimized properly already. If you were really holding yourself to account for everything. But of course, being honest about everything doesn't necessarily mean doing anything about it.
So, talking about these, theoretical problems of overassessment or underassessment of ability, I guess. Are they inherently bad or do they serve a purpose? Because how otherwise are you going to ever accurately assess, especially the overreaching one, your actual ability?
Well, on the ability thing, I think that overestimating your own ability is kind of critical to maintaining enthusiasm at the beginning when you're bad at something.
And I think it's also to the degree at which it um, informs your decisions and how bad the overestimate is or whatever.
So a measured over prediction based upon the current baseline is a good way to develop then. Yes?
Well,
I think the other issue is what kind of task is it? If it's hang gliding, it's a bad thing to suffer from.
Bad thing to fail at.
It's a bad thing. You could die
failure.
from the Dunning-Kruger effect if the thing you're doing is hang gliding. I'm sure I could do this. It'll be fine.
I'll start there.
And you're up in the sky and you're like, I don't know what I'm doing. That'll be a problem.
Man, I really want to show you all this picture.
Did you guys, either of you guys, get a chance to see the Holland video? I mean,
No.
I'm sorry, Norway video?
No.
It's been quite well received. It's only a couple minutes long, and it's gotten a lot of thumbs up. Let's see. Smart people underestimate themselves. Ignorant people think they're brilliant. It's a cognitive bias called the Dunning-Kruger effect, where the highly skilled assume things that are easy for them are also easy for others, and the unskilled are so incompetent they can't recognize their own stupidity. That's a really harsh way of putting it. An unnecessarily harsh way of putting it, I think.
Well, when it's exaggerated, I think it helps with the framing of it. So that's a boss yelling at an employee, "You shut it up!" And the employee thinking, "Man, feels good."
Well, look, what I'm thinking is I believe I have a natural talent for making tourist attracting videos for places. I think I'm going to go into that business. I've never tried it before, but you can tell me if I'm suffering from the Dunning-Kruger effect, okay?
Like almost all Norwegians, I spend most of my time here at Norway's signature landmass, the fjord. Hi, my name is Negbo Sansu, and I'm from Norway. Although Scandinavian, my people lack wooden shoes, tulips, white and blue hats, even windmills. What do we get in exchange? Fjords, naturally. These just the water betwixt mountains comprise both our national pride and the engine of a robust economy. In Norway, nearly every minute of every day is centered around the fjord. Norwegian fishermen pull the fruit of the fjord to be salted and feasted upon throughout our long winter nights. Our farmers plant meager plots of beans and peanuts along the rocky slopes high above the waterways. Legumes provide the bulk of our people's protein. Yes, fjord living sure is fine. I've been Negbo Sansu. Thanks so much for listening, and as we say in Norway, you're always home in the fjords.
F to the J to the O to the R to the Fjords. It's the Fjords. Fjords spells fjords. They're the best. FJ. Not a lot of words that start with FJ, but fjord does. Fjords, cause I'm going to Norway. I'm gonna hang at the fjord today. Sergio, lead me to the fjord of Norway. This ain't Denmark, no Holland, no Finland, no Sweden, the Scandinavian shore, but that's the poor way. But this is motherfucking Norway. I like the fjords. Bee horde. I'm hoarding bees down at the fjord. G's. Are you the police of the fjord bees or what? Not gonna shit out fjord G's. Norway has a shit ton of fjords. Everybody come and look at my fjords.
Okay, so that was that. And for those of you at home, I hope you enjoyed that. And to conclude the musings, go to Norway.
Well done, sir.
Thank you, Nick. Appreciate it.
That was good, especially good. I like the Susanna inclusion in it. It was just fucking man. It's one of those things you got to watch several times.
Yeah, but I wrote the script for it for her to read. She read it for me. We did it line by line.
Oh, that's awesome.
It's not quite mixed perfectly, but I like it. I thought it was kind of neat. The funny thing is, when I finished it, I was like, well, that didn't quite hit right for me when I was done with it. Right when I was done with it, I was like, well, and then, but it got a lot of thumbs up. I think probably because we have a lot of Norwegians. That's what I'm thinking. Gives me an unfair advantage. So, yeah. My favorite part of the whole thing is this great rhyme. F to the J to the O to the Diords. H to the J to the O to the R to the Diords. It's the fjords. I like that a lot. Because excellent rhyme. I think that as far as fjord relating rhymes go, that's about as good as it gets. F to the J to the O to the R to the Diords. It's the fjords. Can't hear you.
Oh. Can you hear me now?
Yeah, now I can hear you.
Okay. Yeah, there's some interesting alliteration possibilities with fjords because it's got that sound in an interesting place.
It does. Also, a great word for hangman. Fjords. People probably aren't going to guess it. I think if you wanted a 2-word phrase that'd be really difficult to get in hangman, it would be fjord ghetto.
I think that would probably, yeah. People would hate you if you picked that one. It would be wonderful.
This would be a good expression for Wheel of Fortune would be the fjord ghetto's Yule log. Okay, you've got an E, another E. That's it. Okay, go ahead. And then the person goes, the fjord ghetto's Yule log?
So when Eric's in charge, it's when we're in charge. It's like, I'd like to pick 3 letters. I'll pick definitely a Y, a J, and a U.
Yeah. I want consonants F, J, G, H, and Y. Are you sure? Yeah, I'm sure. I'm aiming for the fjord ghetto's Yule log. I came in here this time hoping that would be the puzzle's answer.
Yeah.
But it's only 4 letters, sir. Yeah. So anyway, for all of you hangman players out there, if you're trying to stump your friends in hangman, you stump them 3 times in a row with fjord, ghetto, and Yule log. That's a handy tip for
that's useful information. It really is.
How many people play hangman more than once a day? Me, obviously.
I haven't played it lately, but when I'm playing it, I play it way too much. Yeah.
Yes, this is amusing, Sarah. But the musings are basically coming to an end. Would you like to chime in here on the end of the musings as we wrap it up?
This is really your musings?
Well, this is like the 3rd try I've had of it too, and I think each keep falling apart. It just keeps falling apart before my very eyes.
My bad. I didn't help.
Well, you tried to help, but I was not being very helpful. I was not being very helpable.
My phone died, and then my laptop died.
I would imagine that I would muse that this is what you're like when you're like sitting on the shitter and your phone's dead and you're tired of looking at the back of the can or bottle of shampoo. Do you play hangman? That'd be a good hangman word.
What? Shampoo?
No, I mean like, well, maybe, but like the way that you were talking to nobody about nothing.
Oh yeah, that is the sort of conversation I have with myself. That's true. I do have that conversation about myself. I was gonna just muse though about something else that struck me when you, which was what? Oh, uh,
Gram 3 picture.
oh, we were musing about the Dunning-Kruger effect. Are you familiar with that?
No.
The Dunning-Kruger effect is Nick. Can you put that picture back up again that you had up there before?
Which one?
The one with the guy yelling at the other guy. Remember?
Oh, oh yeah. Um, yeah. Let me
How
grab
do you
it
do
real
that
quick.
anyway?
Share my screen, and then you go to rather than share specific application or whatever.
I see. How many musings must thou muse to muse about musing and muse? The thing is about the musings, what I'm really musing about is kind of
And Taylor, he just doesn't know the word. He knows exactly what it is. You're talking about it today. Besides the fact that he's smart, I mean, get this, but
Yeah. I didn't know it had a name.
yeah. Well, it works the other way around too, which is people who are highly skilled at something. It should say highly skilled people because it's about skill sets really, and people who are highly skilled at something have a tendency to overestimate the baseline ability of people who are unskilled at it. Because people who are highly skilled at something, they're doing the advanced stuff that for them is very simple. So they assume that the simple stuff must be simple for the people who are unfamiliar with it. But the simple stuff may be totally unfamiliar to people who are unfamiliar with it, and therefore not simple at all. So I'm guilty of both of these. I'm guilty of being on both sides of this. I'm guilty of being the one who doesn't know anything and assumes he can do it, whatever it is. I'm, even though, and then you learn, oh shit, this is actually quite complicated. Um,
Been
yeah, and I've been on the other side of things too, where I'm assuming somebody who doesn't know anything must know at least this. Well, you must know about the Langley wrench 3/4 turn, blah 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 blah. Surely you know about that technical detail. Like I've been guilty of that.
Yeah. I've heard you do that.
I've been scolded for that by many people in the past. I try not to, but it's hard to know what people know, and I'm trying to get shit moving. I'm trying to talk about shit. The other thing is, though, if you err in the other direction, people get insulted, right? If you explain shit they already understand, people don't like that.
Yeah.
Do you think I'm stupid? Why are you explaining what a dog is to me? You know, it's a challenge.
I,
Go ahead. Sorry.
I do know.
Are you at the office?
Yeah. Yeah, the firewall here is fucking with my connection. I'm trying to figure out how to undo that.
So,
Allow everything.
I think the phenomenon